Lord Jesus. Okay, we're gonna move into finance. Thank you for this. Budgeting when you hate budgeting. Mr. Perfect hates budgeting. Chris hates a budget if his life depended on it. I told Chris, even billionaires budget. Chris calls it a me problem. A budget is a me problem.
So my problem with budgeting is not the problem I have with the budget. I hate the problem with the limits you want to set on me to tell me what I can't spend when I made the money on this, whatever it is, the project, whatever it is, and it's like, no, you don't have anything. You have to check what the budget allows you to spend. It's like, no. There's like, I don't know, $50,000 here is like, oh, what? I gotta ask you to spend 1,000? No, bro.
Yes,
No.
it's called marriage and life. That's how it works. You gotta allocate the money where you gotta go. You know, there's the investment. There's a little thing called, I need a roof over my head. We need to eat. Like, there's a whole budget behind the scene. You wouldn't know because you don't deal with the budget.
Money makes money.
And people don't call you.
My money makes the money.
So budgets are highly necessary. So that was Chris's point of view on budget. My point of view on budget is every time we fall out of using the budget, my life falls out of place, and then I have to catch back up on my life. So if you get anything for this segment, get you a budget. Budget will save your life, and it will make you feel so much secure in your life. And yes, it turns out you can budget at any financial situation in your life. So I forgot my list for books and people I follow for this section, but it's really my gem. So I'm the one who deals with the budget first. So I will be putting in the show notes some books you can read and people to follow for budgeting. But budgeting is life and it will keep you sane. And for people like Chris, you're just the side person. You just told what the budget is and you go from there. But yes, even if you're a millionaire, you can't say you have $1 million in the bank and we're going to spend $1 million. No, bro. I'm going to give you a budget.
That's never the concept.
But if it was up to you, like,
no,
you know, I think you could probably spend $1 billion in a day. You would forget. Chris will buy a jet online, a yacht online. Like, I'm always like, oh, how much to Chris is like, oh, it's very easy. Like,
no,
a couple watches.
No, because when I want
put some in the investment, like you would be done with that $1 billion.
You know what I want to spend? I want to spend on tools or some new machine, not on stuff that's just. I'm not going on no trips.
But what is an asset on that? If you're just gonna spend it, that's why you need a budget.
You need to go make more money, so then it's not a problem.
But no, even if you make more money, you have to budget that more money.
When I'm having a business, it's not like my income is fixed. I don't work on a salary.
I get that, but it's still the point of the story is always going to be capped at the budget. The budget is going to change, but there's always going to be a budget, and you hate the word budget, and you hate you have reached the top of your limit. Chris wants life to be a black Amex. It's unlimited. No. There's always, no matter how much money we're making, there's always going to be a limit. So apparently, most Americans don't use a formal budget. A 2021 study found from debt.com found that 65% of Americans don't follow a detailed budget. But those that at least track their spending in some informal way tend to feel more in control of their finances. That's why I said, at least even if you don't budget, but know where your money is going, and you feel so much better. And yes, you can budget even if you're making $12,000 a year.
You know, my budget goes to Cappy.
Yeah, because I'm out here buying Chanel purses and shit.
That's what I be saying, but you be tripping at me.
Yeah, but anyways, let's keep on track to provide value, not your foolishness. Simple tracking makes a big difference. Researchers from the University of Kansas revealed that people who write down even a few key expenses each month save 20% more than those who don't track at all. And a Vanguard report noted that focusing on your long-term financial goals rather than obsessing over daily expenses categories lead to better financial health over time. So I'm not saying you have to be super crazy about the budget, but you should have some kind of budget. You should know where your money goes, and you should have like main categories split. Like you should know what percentage. If you don't want to go detailed into numbers, but there's some people who will tell you, and that used to be me, I don't know where all my money goes. So that's when you know you have a problem and you definitely need a budget. If you're like, oh, I had this paycheck and I don't have nothing to show for it. You have no savings, you have no investment, and you're like, I don't know where my money goes. And your bills are not even all paid. At least if your bills are not all paid, but you know where your money went, like you're already a step ahead. So you have to have some kind of like accountability.
Well, the problem is most people also probably live beyond their means. That's a different question.
Oh, Americans for sure. We all do.
Yeah, you spend 50% or more of your paycheck on rent, and it's like, yeah, you don't have anything left after that scenario. Living the good life.
Well, the next problem is too, but that would be a different story. We don't get paid living wage. We get paid. That hasn't gone up, but everything else has gone up. So that's a different story. So even more reason why you need to budget so you can keep yourself accountable and know where everything goes.
That's one thing I definitely don't really understand. And you said that before yourself too. Is like, especially when a salary. I think it's important. I think I have a different expectation of budgeting because we don't live in a salary fixed income type of scenario. So that's why I see things a bit different. Like if I knew we were making, let's say, $1,000 a month, then yeah, the budget is like, at that point, it's like, all right, I need to know exactly if I have $5 left, $100 left. But the fact that we have higher income potential is why I'm saying that if I want this particular thing, I see it as we have the means to try and go and get that particular thing because we can just go out and sell more of whatever product versus someone who's on a salary or fixed income. You don't have that luxury. Once you get into a certain hole, you need to have money split up aside for certain circumstances where anything happens, whether it's a medical emergency or the roof broke or whatever it is, you need to have the budget. But I feel that once we have, for people who are self-employed, they have more potential of fixing or getting easier towards a goal versus those who work for on a fixed salary. That's why I say it's more like it's annoying because I know I've worked hard to try and get this particular thing or to not feel so put into a box. But you want to put me in a box, but it's like, yo, I just did an awesome big job. And now you're like, no, forget about that. You didn't do good. You just got to struggle again. It's like, no.
Numbers don't lie, bro.
It's like,
I run the numbers.
It's like, I just won. Let me take my win.
You did win. But it's going to somewhere more important than the stuff you don't need to buy. If it was something you needed, then that would be a different story. But if you don't need it, we don't have to keep making Amazon richer. That's all I got to say. So you should pay yourself first. And so I guess managing money, right? It's kind of like a Buffett approach, but I think it's an everyone approach. Pay yourself first, which is the same thing all my books and all my people say online. And by pay yourself first is no, you're not writing yourself a paycheck or anything. Pay yourself first is savings, investment. That's what pay yourself first is. So that if you have an emergency, you have an emergency fund. You're saving towards something, maybe a housing, something. That's pay yourself first. And then invest in your future for your retirement. Because guys, Social Security is most likely going away at some point, the way America be spending money. So investment, that's pay yourself first. After you're done paying yourself first, then you can pay everyone else. And honestly, they always tell you in those books and the people I follow, pay yourself first can look like $2 if you live. Some people like have very low income. So if $2 is what pay yourself first, that's okay. Because at the end of the year, that $2 per week or per paycheck might look like $100. It might not be big, but it's $100 you didn't have before. And if you invest it into something that for yourself or your child, like 30 years from now, that $2 per week would be like maybe 100K or something. So it's better than nothing. So, and then as you make more money, because obviously you want to have, like a better job or like you get a promotion, then $2 can become $10 and then $10 can become 20. So they tell you the idea is to start with something. You want to practice putting that money away, even if it's something really small. So whatever your budget looks like, even if it's penny in a jar, like you want to get into the habit of saving and then putting money aside and investing. And investing can look like $5 a week too, guys. Like, like I don't remember what, but we did an investing podcast, so you can check that too. And we did a side hustle podcast. So if you want to make some extra money, you can do that too, to be able to invest or save towards something. And then live below your means. Okay, I'm not gonna judge anyone because I live in America and we all live beyond our means most of the time or at a certain time in your life. I mean, living below your means is great in theory. But when you see the letter in that car, it's, the shiny object, and you're at a certain age in your life and you're like, fuck it.
Might die tomorrow, so it's like, let's
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Like, I'm not saying this is how you should do it, but I'm just saying I'm not going to judge anyone on that because living the American life, I think most of us, 3 out of 4 people, live beyond their means.
Yeah, but I think living beyond your means can happen. But as you said, though, if you're going to do that, I think it's important to budget and plan because don't live way beyond your means and you have like negative $10,000 in debt. You know what I mean? Because it takes that one little bubble to pop and then then you're fucked for real. So at least if you have that little bit of a cushion you're building, whether it's $2, as you said, at least that's a help towards that day because when you're a fixed income, as I was saying earlier, you're just screwed. So I think the budgeting is something that's important for that, especially if you're living beyond your means. You might not have much to, extra because you're already way extended, but you got to put something away. That scenario of being negative or not having any savings is not a good look because especially the way economy is going, people losing their jobs, living beyond your means is fun, but it's not fun when you lose your job and then it's like a month, 2 months, 3 months away and you have zero saved away for it. So was all that stuff really worth it at that point to live that extra nice car, that nice house, whatever, but then you're screwed because you didn't do that. So that's why it's important to at least save something, to let's not be that stupid that, all the things happen in life, but let's at least pretend to make an effort. The universe could be like, I was trying here, buddy, but give me a little more help, I was trying.
Yeah. So I'm not saying again that you should live beyond your means, but I'm just saying I don't judge if you do. But so you should live below your means, guys. At least that's the goal, is to live below your means, like something we should all work on. And then focus on big wins, no small cutbacks. So basically, you know how they tell you, oh, cut the latte today. So this is a little bit of Buffett and then manifestation. Like, don't cut all the joys out of your life. Like, if you really want that $5 latte, just have it. But make sure you have that $5 latte after you saved your $2 or whatever per week. You know what I mean? After you invested in yourself, you can do that and then enjoy it and be thankful for that moment. But don't spend your last on it or don't try to go crazy, which is what I was saying. You don't have to necessarily penny pinch on a budget, but have a, like you should, everybody should knows what they're bringing in and what their expenses are. So you should know your expense. Your first number you should know is your expense. You're paying your you should have 2 big part in your expense. Your necessities, so your rent or mortgage electricity, basically the must, the car payment, insurance, all those necessities, and then your extras. Unfortunately, food goes in extras, guys. So food, like the kids need new shoes for school. There's like maybe a school budget, a clothing budget. Like extras are still important, but so you should know your base, and then how much are you bringing in. So that gives you how much cushion you have. That and then your investment should be in your budget, and then anything extra, like a lot of the people I follow say also you should have money to enjoy. Like you want to go out to eat. If you want to save for a vacation, that should be planned. Save for that. Like you also have to live life, So have that latte, but make sure you're also actively saving that $2 for. So it's basically a balance, I guess. Your budget should be a balance of responsible and enjoy life. A study by Morningstar found that people who automate their savings before paying bills or discretionary expenses consistently save more than over the long term. So, especially for people who have paychecks or salaries, work from someone, you get your paycheck, automatically this goes into my saving, even if it's $10. When I used to work for someone else, I had that automated. It used to be like when I was very young, like $20, $25 used to go into my saving account automatically. You leave it and forget it. Research published in Financial Planning Review highlighted that individuals who maintain a modest lifestyle, even as their income rises, accumulate more wealth than those who increase spending at the same time as the pace of their earnings. Basically, because you have a promotion of more money doesn't mean you should like get a Ferrari tomorrow or something. Like just put that money into savings, and once you really, really stay secure, then you should make that investment.
I mean, talk about Buffett. I was ready for that one.
Which one?
The Buffett house.
Oh, you can go ahead and read it.
No, you read it and I'll tell you why.
Oh, shit. Okay. Warren Buffett is a famous frugal, living in the same modest home since 1958. It's not about counting every dollar, but about ensuring the lifestyle leaves room for future growth.
Let me look up to see what his house looks like. They say he has a 5-bedroom house, right? Which is cool. Regular, it's an old house. He bought it in 1950 or something like that. $30,000. That's cool. But his house is 6,000 square feet. Do you know how big 6,000 square feet is? Exactly. Because most private houses are, let's say, about 2, maybe 3,000. So although he has this same house, it's a very big, nice house. There's 0 pictures. Inside could be all fancy.
I was going to say it's probably done renovation.
It could have been all renovated. So, but let's be realistic. Just because he's a millionaire, you don't have to have a big old mansion. He's an old person, first of all. So I'm sure he's probably living on the first floor. I'm probably not even taking stairs anymore. But
okay,
still,
but he wasn't always an old person.
But regardless, though, 6,000 square feet has always been a big ass house. Like you don't need to have, 20 bedrooms and shit like that. Like it's unnecessary. That's just lavish, like fuck you money, realistically. Like having 20 bedrooms, like there's nothing wrong with having 6,000 square feet. That's a big ass regular house for a one person and a wife. I don't even know if he has really a bunch of kids or not, but 5 bedrooms is a good house. And I'm pretty sure at 6,000 square feet, he has probably garages, offices, studio room, whatever. So let's stop pretending that his little same old house from 50 years ago, 60 years ago is anything but. It's a luxury house. It's considered, honestly, probably a mansion. I don't know what number mansion starts at, but 6,000 square feet is pretty huge house.
You'll be holding that in, huh?
Yes. Because like I've heard this story so many times about him and his same modest house, but like it's a big ass house.
Well, you know what I think they probably mean? It's modest when you're looking at how Bezos is living with his 50-bedroom mansions and stuff. So yes, it's modest compared to the rest of his people on the same financial level as him.
But he also has other vacation homes and real estate invested. He just chooses to live in his regular house. Let's not be fooled like, just because he still has that, he prefers to live there because that's his Idaho home. I think it was Idaho? Ohio, something like that. But yeah, it's just like people keep talking about this story because it's some cheapo or something. But yeah, it's
Nobody said it was a triple. He said he's frugal.
frugal. But he has other houses. I've looked it up.
That's called a real estate portfolio.
Yeah, but meaning he still has other
That's
houses.
an investment.
And yeah, it's an investment in that $30,000 house he has. But as I said, it's still in a crappy house. He just hasn't rebought. There's nothing wrong with that. He was fine with his big ass house from a long time ago.
Well, I did not know that.
Yeah.
But it was 6,000 square foot. I really thought it was some small house.
Yeah, it's not. So he didn't have a need to really buy a big old mansion. Like, it's a good house. And he could have, renovated, make it look nice or whatever. But what's really a big house? It's just a bunch of rooms. So you could redecorate the rooms, remodernize it because it's old. Like, it's still, all houses are still a shell. Yes,
You should have mentioned something since I passed
when you
it.
skipped it.
According to the Federal Reserve, households with minimal consumer debt are better positioned to handle emergencies and invest in the future, creating financial stability, and doesn't rely on detailed budgeting. Well, obviously, like if I have less debt, but if you're living paycheck to paycheck, I think it's a little bit harder. But I think if you can budget, actually, there was a fun fact I heard about in my books and people I follow. Some of the, well, not richest people, but well off that you might not realize. A lot of teachers are even more well off than we might be or something because they budget better and they apparently do like they literally like live below their means. They're good at saving and they might drive this crappy car and you think that your neighbor is better, their neighbor is better than them because they have like a Benz and they're driving this Toyota, but the neighbor has $0 in the bank and they have like 100K in savings because they drive the crappy car, but they're cash rich, while the person driving the nice car is cash poor. So another thing, never judge a book by its cover.
So why they keep saying teachers don't make shit or they don't make enough money or whatever it is?
I don't think they do, but I think they're more resourceful.
Got the impression that they're always struggling.
And I guess it depends on what teachers wear. Teachers are still underpaid, I believe that.
No, I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying that, like, it's always been a thing that teachers don't get paid enough. I don't know if they look at it as enough as in to survive or enough that based on what their value is, I guess.
But it's an example that keeps coming back in my books and stuff, which I think makes sense. Or maybe just because they're just more, what do you call that? Disciplined than us.
Maybe they also have to budget more because teachers don't get, a lot of them don't get paid for that summertime, that 2 months either. So they have to also plan more ahead because they have that gap in their salary. It kind of sucks as a teacher.
No, I was reading something about that or online. I think they get paid for the year for that time, but you don't get that paycheck, so you have to learn to manage it. So like it's included in your other paycheck, you just don't get it. So you have to learn to be disciplined to make sure to account for that month. Maybe that's where that discipline comes in too. They have to be so good at their budget that they can just learn to live below their means and budget better. Breaking free from the traditional budget rule, think in percentage, not dollar amount. I think I kind of touched on that earlier. But yeah, you want to do maybe like 50% for your base, 20% for emergencies, 10% for investment, 10% for vacations, like whatever floats your boat, but just put a percentage aside, figure out what your budget is, and then think of percentage of your paycheck is going to go to what.
Yeah,
instead of like $10.
Yeah, but definitely I think part of the budgeting should be, as you said, the investing part, because especially the sooner you start, the more it grows and compounds over time versus just putting it in the mattress or it's just in savings. Even if because as you said, let's not wait until hopefully that Social Security still exists, 20 years from 30, 40, 50 years when you actually retire, which is not even that much anyways. If you think about it, is that amount even?
Old people get like nothing.
Is that amount even going to be with inflation increasing enough over time? Because look at the value of all the houses. Is that even going to cover you living anything in the next 20 years? Because I mean, look at back 20 years back. I mean, the cost of houses then versus now is doubled.
No, way more.
Okay, but meaning like, is your Social Security amount going to double?
No.
You know what I mean?
Is it even going to increase?
So how are you even going to live if you don't really, because there's one thing of savings, which are doing anything, versus investing. Investing hopefully at least makes some type of an interest over time, versus, just.
Especially long term.
Yeah, long term, so it's definitely important to try, and whether it's the crypto or stocks or, I guess 401k or one of those things that.
To have something for the future.
Yeah.
Besides the Social Security.
Yeah. And I would even say even outside of the 401ks, because those are all managed by companies and you never know what these people will be doing sometimes.
They might be shutting down. They might be a scam.
Shutting down, scam, risky investments. You never really know. So
you're not in charge of it.
Yeah, you're not in charge. You don't know what's happening on the back end. So, and I've heard some horror stories with those things sometimes. So always have a little extra something you do on the side, so don't depend on your retirement, the government. You never know where things are going to be. Who knows if you're even going to have a government in the next 20 years, 30 years, with the way things are going. Maybe robots
Really?
are running us. Who knows? You never know. It could be decisions made by robots and people just
AI
the
took
president.
over.
You never know. Maybe they said, you know what? All you need is one guy in charge and all these other people are just not needed anymore. Who knows?
Invest in knowledge over complexity. So instead of obsessing over monthly categories, focus on building your financial IQ, read investment book, basically educate yourself on how to make better financial decision. A lot of us not a lot of, everyone learn their financial lessons, lifestyle from their parents and what you've seen. So if your family had horrible money management, chances are you have picked up those habits. But you can change it, like you can do better and you can build wealth and be better for the next generation. So educate and then apply so that you can learn to make better financial decisions. And if you save and invest 10% of your income and live on the remaining 90%, you steadily grow your wealth without leaving micromanagement. Basically, yeah, just invest at least a little bit, live a little, and then.
Oh, a next thing here too. If you do investments, not a savings, you have a smaller chance of dipping into it because you gotta sell it.
That's true.
Or it's more complicated. Which is saving is like, oh, I need some money, I gotta get this thing. You just quicker just to like, because you see it versus like if you do an investment in a 401k or a stock, it's more like it becomes more complicated.
And you have to wait to get it.
You have to wait. There's a penalty, whatever like that. You pay the taxes on it, whatever. But it's less of a easy grab when it's not in your savings or under your mattress or cash or
That's
however
true.
you do it.
Percentage-based guidelines simplify money management. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau reports that people using simple percentage guidelines like 50, 30, 20 find it easier to track their financial health. So yeah, basically make it simpler, because if it gets too difficult, chances are you're not going to do it. Build wealth over time. A National Bureau of Economic Research study showed that individuals who constantly increase their financial literacy see significant gains in net worth and retirement preparedness. So the more you know, the better you'll be.
Who was the guy you were watching earlier today? That's why I want somebody should watch.
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
Yeah, that would be on my list.
I know somebody Ramsey.
Yeah, I was watching. He's strict. I don't agree with everything he has, but he gives you a good base. And he actually has a free budgeting app that you can download. Investing early and regularly beats detailed budgeting. A Vanguard study found that early consistent investing leads to greater long-term return than meticulous monthly expense tracking. Yeah. So for the investment, earlier, better, and consistent is what you want to go with. So some practical step to start today: automate your saving and investments. Your paycheck hits, your bank account does that for free. Have it automatically a certain amount or certain percentage. Percentage is better. Go into your savings and investment account.
And I guess to add on that to automation, I guess, what was it? It was Acorn and I don't know, Acorn or something. Check our stock our investing podcast that we had. But I think it was Acorn automatically just take the change so they can help you
The extra change, yeah.
just automatically just, help you on that goal also to kind of build that investment without doing anything.
That's true. Small. Also, track only the essentials instead of categorizing every expense. Try track a few things, and basically so you don't get overwhelmed, but at least you're doing something. So I guess it's like going back to the base. Know what your base is, your basic expense, what you're coming in. Like make it the easier the better. And then Dave Ramsey has that free apps. Like there's so many free resources out there that you can just use to just do it. But the idea is make sure you're doing it. And actually you can also have like a coffee date with yourself every week. Like you should know where your money is going. So every week, every Saturday, maybe have like in the morning, you have your coffee and then you check your accounts, you put your expenses, you check where you're at, and it's your money date. And you can do that with your spouse too. You can have like a money date with your spouse. Some people talk about doing that. We don't do that. But some people do it and it works for them so that you know where you are financially. Are you guys hitting your goals? Are you guys overexpensed so you don't have any surprises? And the third step will be, oh, that's what I just covered without even noticing. Periodically review and adjust. Yeah. So every few months, check in on your saving rates, investment growth, and major expenses. So I guess that would be another date. Maybe you can have like monthly dates for like investment, everything as a bigger view. But yeah, you have to check in on it, know where your money, and then if something is not working, I'm always tweaking my budget out. Well, our budget.
See, told you, money has nothing to do with me.
To make sure, it does. You make some of it to make sure like it's working for you and for where you're at today, because you may have like maybe you were saving for a house and you bought the house, so now maybe you could save for something else. So like always check and be adjusting. So they say automation increases saving success. That's people who automate. 40% of people who automate their savings are likely to make their financial goals. I believe that. And better yet, you should have your savings into a different bank. Because like Chris said, that's a help. If you don't see it, you won't tap into it so easily. So having your saving in a different bank is even better if you're not doing well, you should have the investment, but if you're saving for something when you need the cash, maybe it's an emergency savings or something, then having in another bank so you don't dip into it thinking you have, I can just transfer it over, unless it's, like your landlord's about to kick you out of something, like something very important.
Oh, and see, you could even automate the investing, even if you don't put it into buying. You could even send the $10 directly to like your investment account, just like so it becomes like a separate, savings account technically. And then I guess you can spend it, whenever you get a chance to invest or however, but it's still going to be separated. And I can guarantee you that getting it back is a lot more complicated than switching it, just returning it back.
They're gonna hold on to that for their life.
They don't make that returning as simple as sending it over. So that'll help you not spending it too.
Minimal tracking reduces stress. That's another report finding. And regular reviews keeps you on track. That's another report finding, which makes sense. So basically, everyone should budget. Yes, even if you make 12K or less, or like a little bit per year, you should still have a budget. It's better to invest $2 a week than it is to invest nothing. You can start investing change in a coin thing, like don't feel away. You just want to build the habit. Prioritize your first and your goals first. So a savings and investment, and then pay all your bills. Try to live below your means. You don't want too much debt. You don't want to pay that third. it's what now? 29.9%. And credit card interest now, you don't want to have to pay all that. Track your account, have like a budget date for like weekly for basics, and then monthly for like your investment account, your big saving
Sounds
goals.
expensive.
Dude, you can't just make coffee at the house. Add a toast if it makes you feel richer. And then Warren Buffett says, do not save what's left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. The mindset alone can transform your financial future. That was a cut right there. All right. So I hope you guys, if you're not saving yet, you will start saving. Now that we had a better talk about it, maybe Chris can get off my saving behind.